So let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. Hi everyone. Today we're going to learn how to write full sentences with capital letters and periods. So we're going to write complete and full sentences using capital letters and periods. The first thing that I want everyone to do is look at the following two sentences and just notice differences that you see. So the first sentence says, the dog runs fast. And the second sentence also says, the dog runs fast. The dog runs fast. So just take note on a piece of paper in your head what the difference between these two sentences are. And you can pause the video as well if you need time to do that. So you may have noticed that the first sentence and the second sentence are not the same. So when we first look at this first word, the, you might notice that there's a lowercase letter, T. The dog runs fast, and there's nothing at the end of this sentence. In the second sentence, we see the first word, the, starts with a capital T, which is highlighted in yellow. The dog runs fast, and it's ending with a period, which is also highlighted in yellow. Sorry, my computer is a bit laggy on Zoom, so I'm going to try to turn off my video. Not clicking slides. So just like we saw in the last slide, in the second sentence, the first word of the sentence started with a capital letter. And every sentence should start with a capital letter. So here we can see, even in this sentence, every sentence should start with a capital letter. The very first word, every, starts with a capital E, which is highlighted in yellow. If we look at the sentence underneath it, every sentence should start with a capital letter. We notice the very first word, every, starts with a lowercase e, which is highlighted in red. This is not a correct or complete sentence because it starts with a lowercase e instead of an uppercase E or a capital E. So remember, when you're writing sentences, that every letter has an uppercase and lowercase form, and you need to make sure that you're using the uppercase form when starting a sentence. In the sentence, the dog runs fast, the sentence starts with a capital T. And underneath this sentence, we see a capital T highlighted in yellow and a lowercase t highlighted in red. So you want to make sure that when you're starting your sentence, you start with a capital letter, just like this capital T, or the capital E, or even the capital R in remember. You might also have noticed in our previous slides, the dog runs fast, that it ends with a period, which again, I mentioned before, it's highlighted in yellow, ending with a period. Every sentence should end with a period because that means that it's completing your thought. You're all done with this sentence. There's nothing more to add. So remember to end your sentence with a period. That looks just like a little dot on your paper. So now we're going to look at the following sentences and pick the ones that have a capital letter to start with and end with a period. So I will read the sentences to you, and if you'd like to pause the video, have time to think about it, to write anything down, feel free. So every day my cat eats tuna. That's the first sentence. The second sentence says, my favorite color is blue. The third one says, cookies are a great dessert. The fourth sentence says, the cat climbed the tree. And the last sentence says, sharks live in the ocean. So just take a minute or two, or however long you need to pause the video and find the sentences that start and end with a period. So now that you have identified the sentences with capital letters and periods, I would like you to go on your own, pause the video, and correct the ones that are incorrect sentences. So if they do not start with a capital letter or they do not end with a period, then I would like you on your own to fix them. So make it have a capital letter and a period if it doesn't. And if it already does, then you don't have to change anything. So now that you have done that on your own, we're going to go over it and make sure that you did yours right. So the first sentence we see says, every day my cat eats tuna. If we look at the very first word, every, I'm noticing that it starts with a lowercase e. And we remember from before that every sentence should start with a capital letter. So I don't think that's right. Every day my cat eats tuna. I'm also noticing that it doesn't end with a period. There is no dot at the end of the sentence. There's no period at the end of the sentence. So we know that this sentence is not a complete sentence and it is not a correct sentence. Next, we see it says my favorite color is blue. The very first word, my, starts with a big capital letter M, so we know this sentence so far is right. It starts with a capital letter. My favorite color is blue. And at the very end, we see it ends with a period, which is also highlighted in yellow. So this sentence is complete and correct. Next sentence says cookies are a great dessert. If we look at the very first word, we can see that it starts with a big capital letter C, so far the sentence is good. Cookies are a great dessert. Oh, but at the very end, I'm noticing that there's not a period. I do not see the small little dot at the end of our sentence, so we know that it's not a complete thought, it's not a complete sentence, and we need to fix it. The next sentence says, the cat climbed the tree. If we look at the first letter, or the first word, we see that the very first letter of the sentence is a lowercase t. And that is not an uppercase T, it is not a capital letter, so that is something we should fix. The cat climbed the tree, and at the very end we see that ends in a period. So we don't need to fix or add any periods at the end of this sentence. Last, we see the sharks live in the ocean. If we look at the very first word, we see it starts with a big capital S, highlighted in yellow, sharks live in the ocean, and it ends with a period, also highlighted in yellow. So let's fix these sentences together and see if you fix them on your own the right way. So the first sentence, every day my cat eats tuna. We talked about how it starts with a lowercase e, so highlighted in green, we see an uppercase e. Every day my cat eats tuna, and at the end, we ended it with a period. So we added that period to make it correct, so now it's a complete sentence. The second one was already correct, so we don't need to change it. The third one, cookies are a great dessert. We remember seeing a big capital C at the front of that sentence, so we knew that was good, but at the end, we noticed there wasn't a period, so here we added a period, which is highlighted in green. The next sentence, the cat climbed the tree. We noticed that it did not start with a capital T, it started with a lowercase t, so we needed to fix that. Highlighted it in green to show that we changed it. The cat climbed the tree, and it ends in a period, which we already noticed before, and we don't need to change anything else. And last, sharks live in the ocean was already correct, so we don't need to change anything there. So today, you were able to learn that sentences need to start with a capital letter and end with a period. You are able to do this by looking at all these sentences and seeing if they start with capital letters and end with periods. You were able to see if they started with lowercase. If they started with the lowercase letter, then you were able to change it. And you were able to see if they ended with periods. And if they didn't end with a period, you could add a period to make it a complete sentence. Now, in your future and present, you will be able to write your own sentences with capital letters and periods. So you can now make complete sentences.